Welcome back to our last day in unit number 2. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our goal for today. So today's goal, given a word problem with inequalities, you will be able to set up an equation or system of equations and solve algebraically or graphically. So today, our main idea is we're working with inequalities. Sometimes there's one equation, sometimes there's two, and we have to read carefully to know if we're solving algebraically or graphically. All right, so let's go ahead and flip the page. Let's take a look at our notes. Now, the first thing you need to do is fix the title of this. So today is actually day 13. All right, so let's go ahead. Here are your steps, just like when we were solving regular systems of equations word problems. Put your pencil down. Read the question all the way through. Then decide if there's one unknown or two unknown values that you're trying to solve for. Define each variable. Let x equals, let y equals, let m equals any of those variables that you'd like to use. Write out your equations or inequalities. One variable is one equation, two variables, two equations. And then you're going to go ahead and solve the equation or system. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put this to the test. Everybody take a look here at number 1. So the first thing you need to do is put your pencil down and let's read the question. All right, John makes custom frames to sell at craft shows. He spends a one-time cost of $50 on cherry wood and other materials from the lumber store. At the craft show, John sells each frame for $18 including tax. John needs to earn a minimum of $450 for a trip he is going on with his family. As an inequality, using x as the number of frames, express how many frames it will take for John to earn at least $450. How many frames will it take John to have enough money? Okay, so after reading this question, let's think of what's the main idea. What are you trying to do here? Well, we're trying to find how many frames it's going to take. So there's only one unknown, which means there's only going to be one equation. All right, so let's go through and let's see if we can set it up. Write an equation using x as the number of frames. So we're going to say let x equal the number of frames. Now, let's reread the question for our important information. It says he has a one-time cost. So cost is money that you have to spend. Okay, and he sells each frame for $18. So that's how much money he's making for each frame. He needs to earn a minimum of $450. Okay, so 450, so a minimum. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we have x is the number of frames and $18 is how much each frame is. So $18. So we're talking about how much money he's making. So if he has to pay $50, is he adding $50 to how much he has or is he subtracting it? Yep, he has to subtract it. That's how much money he owes at the very start. Okay, he wants to make a minimum of $450. That means he has to make this or more. So we want this over here to be more than or equal to $450. Okay, so now we have our inequality. That was part A. So now part B says, how many frames will it take? Let's go ahead and solve. So here we're going to add 50 to both sides. 18x is greater than or equal to 500. Then we're going to divide both sides by 18. All right, I'm going to take out my handy dandy calculator. And let's see, so we're going to go 500 divided by 18, and we get 27.7 repeated. Now, I'm going to keep that in my answer because this is still an inequality. Now, the question says, so this is an inequality, it says how many frames will it take for John to have enough? Well, x has to be greater than or equal to 27.7. So how many frames will he have to do in order to be greater than? Well, he's going to have to make 28 frames. And we've solved our inequality word problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip it over and let's try one. So this was solving algebraically, so we solved using algebra. Now let's flip it over and let's try one where we're going to have to set up inequalities and solve graphically. So first things first, put down your pencil and let's read. Mrs. Edelman sells plants. Her goal is to make at least $150 per day. She sells Jada plants for $30 each and Inferno plants for $15 each. She can put at most 10 plants in her delivery truck every day. Write a system of inequalities to represent this situation and then graph the system that models these constraints. So while reading this, we see we have two different things going on. We have two different types of plants. And since they cost different amounts of money, we need to set them up as different variables. And this question actually already tells us that we're going to let x equal Inferno plants and let y equal Jada plants. So it says here we're going to write a system of inequalities to represent this situation. So that means we need to have two equations because there's two variables. Okay, so let's read for our important information that can help us. Okay, her goal is to make at least $150 per day. All right, she sells Jada plants for $30, Inferno plants for $15, and she can put at most 10 plants in her delivery truck. Okay, so remember from yesterday's video, whenever we're setting up a system, you have to remember money, money, money. All the monies are going to go together. So let's set up our money inequality. So each Jada plant is 30, and Jadas are the Y's. That's where it's defined. So that means 30Y plus 15X. Now she wants to make at least $150. That means she wants to make more or equal to 150. So this has to be more or equal to $150. Okay, so I use this piece of information, this piece, and this piece. All right, so now we have to come up with our second inequality, and I only have one more piece of information here. She can put at most 10 plants in her delivery truck. So every day, she can only deliver 10 or less plants. That means she could have Inferno plants or she can have Jada plants, but together, she cannot have more than 10. So if we want to put these together, what operation is together? Correct, that is addition. So our second is going to be, our second inequality is x plus y. Okay, she cannot put more than 10, so it has to be less than or equal to 10. And then we've got it. Okay, so now that we have our two inequalities, now it says graph the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these equations and I'm going to change them so that way they are both y equals, or set them equal to, or get the y alone. So here we're going to subtract 15x. So we have 30y is greater than or equal to negative 15x plus 150, and then divide everything by 30. So then y is greater than or equal to, if we reduce this, we're going to get negative 1/2 x plus, if we reduce that, we get 5. So here's my first equation. Now my second equation, I'm going to put that in red. So here we have y plus x is less than or equal to 10. So I'm going to subtract the x to the other side. And y is less than negative or equal to negative x plus 10. Here's my second equation. Okay, so now we have to go ahead and we have to graph both of these inequalities. So if I take a look here, I already have my Jada and Inferno plants labeled. If I look at my slopes and my y-intercepts, neither one of them are very large, so we can have a scale of 1 going up our y and our x axes. Okay, so my first inequality starts at positive 5, and we're going to go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And then if I look carefully, this is greater than or equal to, so since it's allowed to be equal to, this is going to be a solid line. Okay, and we're going to label that. And now I have it greater than. So greater than means we're going to shade up. So we're going to shade up here. So from the line, you then go up. Okay, now I'm going to change colors and I'm going to go ahead and graph my second inequality. So this one starts at 10 and my slope is -1, so it goes down 1 over 1. All right, again, this is less than or equal to, which means it can be a solid line. So this is y is less than or equal to -x plus 10. Now this has to be less than, so less than means we're going to shade down. Okay, so if we look carefully, where is our solution set for the system of inequalities? Well, it's going to be right here. It's where you see both red and blue being shaded. Okay, so we have now just graphed a system that models these constraints. So if I were to ask you, how many inferno plants and Jada plants would Mrs. Edelman have to sell to make her $150 day? Well, you would look carefully and you could pick any of the combinations in this solution set because she's never putting more than 10 items in her truck and they will all make more than $150. So if I wanted to pick a point, I could pick, well, 2 and 6. So 2 comma 6, so it would be 2 inferno plants and 6 Jada plants. She would be able to make her goal of $150 per day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, great job today. Tomorrow we will practice our inequalities in our word problems. Have a great night.